what is it that you're willing to sacrifice to get to becoming a quote-unquote high-value man? And we went into great detail onto how to describe that and how to articulate that on Fresh and Fit when we were on just a few days ago. In fact, that was the whole thing. It's like, well, what's a high value man? Well, again, it's the contextual idea of like what makes a guy high value. So we get into that discussion. And from this one tweet, we have, like I said, Ben Shapiro wants to give another list of his opinion on what makes a high value guy. You got Matt Walsh. You got all these people who want to either just come at me for essentially contradicting whatever their sort of pet ideology happens to be. But again, this is meant to be over the top, and that's the problem. I committed the cardinal sin of being hyperbolic. I committed the cardinal sin of speaking metaphorically or in any way trying to like say, if you know me, I'm married. I've been married for 27 years. I have a kid, right? And I thought about this when I was listening to Brandon Carter. And I'm like, I've been playing this game with one hand and one foot tied behind my back the whole time. If I wanted to be a high value man before I'm 55, clearly I have to sacrifice certain things to get there. For some people, that's going to be family. For some people, that's going to be a family creation. Maybe it's getting a vasectomy in your 20s, which everybody fixated on right there. No, it is not trans surgery, for Christ's sake, okay? But the whole thing about getting, like, the idea is that, Rollo's suggesting that you sterilize yourself. No, what I'm saying is that you need to protect yourself against paternity suits, because anything that would in some way delimit your ability to become that high value man, that's why it's over the top. Do you think I do not have a vasectomy, just clearing the air here right now. I am married, and so everything that's pretty much on this list, I'm the walking contradiction of. So what everybody thinks is like, oh, he's being a hypocrite. No, I'm being hyperbolic. It's fine. Go and understand that the reason we're still talking about this, 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks later, is because that's how agitating this was.
Well, ride the wave, Rollo.
Still am.
So let's
Probably
go,
still will be.
Let's go if we can, and then I'd like to open this up to obviously Michael and the ladies to establish some of their opinions on some of the things you say. So let's just go one by one, real quick, and if there's anything you disagree with, speak out of turn or speak up, right? Okay. So number one, do not get married. Okay, you're married. I was briefly married. You've never been married. When you hear Rollo say, don't get married, what's the first thing you think?
Hyperbole. I mean, because I know, so there was this really funny tweet where this guy was like, I hope you burn in hell, to Rollo's response to the thing. I hope you burn in hell, you're a horrible person, and I'm glad that you're getting a vasectomy so that your genes don't get spread into the next generation.
And by the way, that was one of the nicest responses.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
And then his response was, who's going to tell him? You know what I'm saying? Because the person didn't realize Rollo has a child.
Yeah.
So because of that, like, to me, the whole thing I knew was hyperbole. So it was never an issue for me. I do understand, like, I think one of the dangers is we do deal with people who are so, and I don't mean binary from a sexual standpoint, binary from the fact that they're autistic. They can't understand any nuance. And so those people might not understand it, but I don't think anyone didn't get married because of the tweet, and I absolutely don't think anyone got a vasectomy because of the tweet. So,
I heard this guy did, and he's regretting it at this point. But.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did that. So when I heard the first one, don't get married, it was just like, it didn't make any difference. What I did know is this. Afterwards, I was jokingly, I wrote vasectomy on Twitter, and I was like trying to go viral, but it didn't work. The thing is, if he wrote, hey,
they don't hate you enough.
Yeah, exactly. Had he wrote instead, hey, start a family when you're ready to start a family, when you have your money right, when you have your career correct. If he had written a very tepid, very temperate sentence like that was long form, the tweet wouldn't have gone viral. Ben Shapiro would not have reacted to it. And you wouldn't have seen, like, I think the reaction says more about those people than it does about Rollo. What it says about Rollo is that he made a hyperbolic tweet that stirred up reactions in other people. And when that attacked the sensibilities of Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh, they had to fight back.
Well, they're both married, right?
Yeah, correct. So. Because they had to fight back, but he's also married.
Well, so let's say their idea is we're going to save Western culture by having more babies, and it's the save the West narrative right now. And by the way, you're going to see more and more of that happen, I think, in sort of social media right now as we get closer to election time. It's going to be we're shifting to the culture war narrative.
Any of you ladies have any strong feelings when someone like Rollo or Michael say don't get married? No?
No.
Don't you want to get married one day?
I mean, yeah, but I think that like the point of when women can get married and men can get married is so different. So like
Give
I
me that
agree.
difference.
I agree with Rollo, like waiting, like for men, it's probably better to wait until you have your like ducks in a row per se. Like for women, it's kind of when you found like the right man or the man that you aspire to be with, and then it comes to that time for him. I think that's like, it's different.
Give me an ideal age difference. If you're saying that a guy needs to wait or a girl needs to capitalize on their youth and beauty, what do you think it should be?
Well, women, we're like at our best in our like early mid 20s. Like that's probably our better time. And men, probably like their late 30s, early 40s. They're going to be at their peak.
You're at that time, buddy.
Am I? Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. I'm 45.
Yeah. Well, you know. Fosh, any strong opinions on the marriage conversation?
I think what you tweeted probably got people like riled up because they look at you as somebody to get advice from. So they're taking your advice as something that, you know, I'm going to take this to heart because what you say, they're like, oh, okay, you know, Rollo, he's speaking facts. So it's like, if you tweet something like that, now they're looking at you like, oh, you are a contradiction. Now I can't trust anything that you're saying. So that's what my mind would be. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't, here's the thing. While I agree with you, I don't think Ben Shapiro looks to Rollo for advice. I think Ben Shapiro got his ideals attacked and had to attack back. Does that make sense? Like I think, huh? You don't think so?
You can explain further.
Yeah. So Ben Shapiro he married the first woman he had sex with.
Oh, okay.
So to Ben Shapiro's mind, having a high status man is somebody who stays very strictly in a religious context. In his case, he's Jewish. And in that context, you marry you lose your virginity to the woman who is your wife on your wedding day, right?
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I don't know who this Ben guy is.
Okay.
But is he a high value man?
That's the whole debate.
Right. So he's a very he's a very popular broadcaster. I think he
rich?
is. Huh? Yeah,
Is
he's pretty
he
rich.
rich?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
So it worked for him, right?
No. It's not that it worked for him or didn't work for him. The point was, if Ben had made the original tweet, Rollo wouldn't have been offended. Do you understand? It wouldn't have been an attack. It wouldn't have been an attack.
Like if he
on
would
my
have
way
said,
left.
"Get married, have kids,
Correct.
start a family."
That's exactly right. I think his response says more about him than it does about Rollo, because I think from their standpoint, they find it. So Rollo and I, if you were to say, I want to have several children and get married when I'm young and have those several children and run a business and make a little bit of money, but just enough to feed my family and live out on a farm, am I a high value man? Rollo and I would probably be like, if that's how you define yourself, yes. But if another guy came to us and be like, I'd never want to get married, I don't want to have kids, I want to have 10 million in the bank, and I want to start a huge charity to support X, Y, and Z, am I also a high value man? And Rollo and I would probably say yes. But Ben Shapiro would not. Because you didn't have a bunch of kids and you don't go to synagogue every day. So now by his definition, you're not a high value man. Whereas for us, what we believe is it's whatever you think in your personal denomination of life, that's whatever you believe is high value man. We can accept that to a certain extent. If you're an incredibly toxic person, then maybe not. But for the most part, we would probably agree it's whatever your definition is.
I agree. I agree that people have different paths in life, and whatever feels right to them is what works.
Yeah. But by the way, the tweet says the quickest way. It doesn't say the only way. Everyone seems to miss that point.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to legitimately, the quickest way to become a high value man, if money is involved, is it to have kids or to not have kids? Stacking your money. Is it easier to stack your money when you have kids or when you don't have kids? Now, what's the 10 out of 10 hyperbolic? And for those of you who went to public school, hyperbolic means exaggeration. For those of you, for what is the most hyperbolic example of not having kids in your 20s? A vasectomy. It's not real. I
have a question for that. Is that reversible?
It is, but the further from the beginning of the vasectomy to when you get it reversed, the less likely it is to be reversible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that it becomes problematic if you wait like 10 years to do it.
Yeah.
I would argue that one, because how are you a high value man to a woman if you cannot provide children anymore?
Right. So here's the thing. Again, going back to what you said before, are there guys out there that you can think of, George Clooney, Derek Jeter, who have sex with attractive women and don't have babies with them, and yet the rest of the world still thinks there's high value? You have a different opinion for what your high value is than other people. And we're not telling you you're wrong. We're telling you everyone can have a different opinion of what a high value person is. And then you get to high value people who are horrible, horrible people, like politicians and certain CEOs and executives at companies. They're horrible people, but everyone comes on their yacht. Everyone comes to their parties. Everyone comes to their birthday. Even though they're fucking horrible people, they do so. So the term is androgynous. It can mean a million different things.
So
and
high
that is the
value
point.
men more to define like someone that's popular, their
That-
fame,
that-
someone
that
that
could
you
be
want to
your-
hang
that could be
around
your
with.
definition. But if you're a
But
Quaker,
not specifically someone you
oh,
wanna
oh,
marry,
but if
though.
you're a Quaker, is that the thing? If you're a Quaker, then a high value person doesn't use any electronic equipment, has multiple children, never cheats on his wife, doesn't do anything on social media, and has no following whatsoever.
Well,
but
in
if
the
you
end,
live in
it's
Los
just-
Angeles, that's not a high value person.
In the end, it's just defined by each person.
What
I agree with that
achievement-
one the best.
Achievement unlocked.
A
That
high
is
value
correct.
person or a high value man in general, it depends on what you think in your
It's
own
your
mind.
definition of it. Then.
Well, it depends on what your cohort thinks in their own mind. I don't think
Your
it can just
cohort?
like the group of people that you associate with.
Your
So-
peoples.
Yeah. So
Oh,
for
okay.
instance, if you're an investment banker, then the investment banker group that you're with, they're the ones who determine your value because value is a function of supply and demand. So it can't be like again. As men, we cannot be the origin of our own value or our own status. Our status is based on what other people think about it. We can be the origin of our own self-esteem, but not our own status. That does matter what other people say about you. So
let
for
me-
I fully
let me have this
agree.
on
I
off the
and
cast,
I want to
too.
ask you a question.
Yeah, okay.
I fully agree that you can have great self-confidence,
Yeah.
right? You know how they say that don't let your net worth detach away from your self-worth.
Yeah.
But it does take other people to find value in you. You can't
Correct.
just, it's kind of like the equivalent of every girl like, I'm a 10, I'm a 10. It's like, chick, you're 400 pounds. You're definitely not
Yes.
a 10. You need other people to validate that for you. But you said
No.
something super controversial
Oh, boy.
about high value men.
Yeah.
You went on the record and you basically said that Elon Musk and
Right.
Jeff Bezos, as examples, are not high value
High
men.
value.
How is that possible?
High value in the sense that, like, so when you see somebody who is very like super rich, and then their sort of personal life is in shambles, what that says to me is that there's an aspect of like you money muscles game, whatever the conventional definition of what high value is. I would not put Elon Musk as sort of a high value guy. Monetarily, absolutely. But from a family creation perspective, probably not. If you're looking at somebody like Jeff Bezos, who was with Mackenzie Bezos for, to the tune of what, $33 billion divorce.
Yeah, that's what she got in the settlement.
And as a guy who could, is a guy who could have a new girl every day if he wanted to. Who's he with? Lauren Sanchez, right? So in my estimate, when I see that, I go, well, that's sort of something that's a part of his life that's out of balance. I'm not saying he should have like new chicks every day. I'm just saying that if Lauren Sanchez is who he's trading for from Mackenzie Bezos, which everybody had a problem with back then that says to me, like maybe his headspace is not in the
But
right.
get back to Elon for a second. So you're saying that Elon's not completely high value because his personal life,
Well,
he's had divorces and,
yeah.
and kids out of wedlock, what have you?
Well, I mean, according to the standards of, say, a Ben Shapiro, then yes, because he's basically all he. I love you, Elon, but all he does is breed. I mean, all he does is have a string of relationships with women and has
Isn't
babies
that part
with
of the
them.
purpose of like to
Well,
reproduce
okay, if
and
that's the
have your
case, then
offspring?
is Nick
and Elon's rich
is
as
Nick,
fuck.
is Nick
he
Cannon
can do that.
Is Nick
Is
Cannon
Nick
a high
Cannon
value guy?
value man?
I mean, what would you guys think?
No, I think what he's doing is irresponsible.
I mean, can people be high value in like different topics?
Yes,
Discussion.
so-
like
so-
you can be
so-
high value in
so
this,
that's-
but you're
so
not
this is-
high
Exactly.
value in that.
So this
and-
is-
I agree, and that's exactly what Michael
Yeah.
said. He
Yes.
said people
okay.
in your network.
Yeah.
So in Nick Cannon's network, he probably is a high value
For sure,
man, right?
For sure, he's got a new show called "Who Wants to Be Nick Cannon's Baby's Mom." Have you seen
Baby
it?
mom.
It's hosted by Kevin I forgot Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's hosting a new show.
That's a real thing?
Is that,
I thought that was a joke. I don't know if it was a
Gotcha.
joke, but it was pretty funny. No, the thing is, I'll use the example because he's in the news right now. Let's Zion Williamson and John Morant. Zion Williamson, he is not as quick as John Morant, but he's got more strength. So in the strength attribute, if you're playing NBA 2K, he's going to be a 99. Yeah. John Morant, as far as leaping and quickness, is going to be a 99. They're both high value in different ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
So-
John Morant might be low value when it comes to brains because that guy might about
sure.
to lose $200 million.
He's about to
fucking
use $200
flashing
million
guns on screen. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not
So, but-
exactly the smartest guy. in the
I
world.
mean, you can also break it down. Is Sam Bankman-Fried a high value man?
He definitely was
Is
at one point.
Jeffrey Epstein a
Then
high
if he
value
has
man?
You can
less
definitely
brain
say
and
Jeffrey
more money,
Epstein
does
was
that
at one
balance
point.
out?
The problem is when you think the society think a high value person is only when you talk about money. I am agree with you.
Yeah.
It's so many things in the life that is important.
Was Mahatma Gandhi
You know,
a high
not
value
only
man?
the money. For example, I am agree with you. I know so many rich guys. For me, are not high value men.
But-
you know, Because for me, the most important is the hurt, your
I love
feelings,
that.
your intentions when you do something, you know? Because that's why the world is like that right now. Because everybody only care about money, money, money.
So if you like that clip, click right here to watch another, or if you want to watch the entire Soscast, click right here.